Picture this scenario for a second. You're sitting down at the dinner table, after a long, exhausting day.
Oh, we've all been there.
Right, and your dog is sitting right by your chair, just staring up at you with those enormous, dark, incredibly soulful eyes.
The absolute best begging eyes in the business.
Yeah, exactly. And within, maybe 10 seconds, your resolve just completely crumbles and you toss down a tiny piece of roasted chicken.
It's so hard not to. I mean, it feels completely harmless in the moment.
Right, it is just one tiny bite.
It is the most natural impulse in the world. You see those eyes, you want to show affection, and sharing food is, well, it's a universal mammalian way to bond.
Totally.
And in that split second, it feels like it makes absolutely zero difference to their overall health.
But we are going to pull on that thread today. The mission for this deep dive is to explore the surprisingly high stakes of everyday nutrition for one specific, incredibly popular breed, the Cavalier King Charles Spaniel.
A fantastic breed.
They really are. And using insights from the VitalPet Dog Health Academy, we are unpacking how your daily feeding habits quietly shape this breed's health for years to come.
Which is so important because it's not what people usually think about.
Yeah, the fascinating part is that we aren't looking at dramatic medical interventions here. We are looking at the mundane, everyday stuff.
Exactly. When people think about canine health, the focus almost always drifts toward the big dramatic events, the emergencies, sudden illnesses, or major veterinary procedures.
Just scary stuff.
Right, the scary stuff.
Yeah.
But for a Cavalier, long-term health is really forged in the quiet moments. It is built meal by meal, day by day, choice by choice.
I was trying to wrap my head around this earlier, and it feels a lot like managing a house.
Oh, how so?
Well, so much of a Cavalier's health profile, like their genetics, their predispositions, just pure luck, is basically the weather outside. You cannot control if it rains or snows.
Right, you can't control the genetic cards your dog was dealt.
Exactly. But the daily feeding, that feels like the thermostat inside the house. It is the one crucial dial that you as the owner actually have your hands on every single day to regulate the environment.
I love that framing. The owner holds the thermostat.
Yeah.
To carry that forward, we first need to understand why this specific breed's house gets overheated so easily. Like, why are Cavaliers uniquely prone to packing on weight in the first place?
Right. What's going on biologically?
It is fundamentally an intersection of their biology and their temperament. You have to look at what the Cavalier King Charles Spaniel was engineered to do.
Which is mostly sit on laps, right?
Basically, yes.
Yeah.
These are not working dogs bred to herd sheep across miles of rugged terrain,
Yeah.
Burning thousands of calories in the process.
No, definitely not.
They were developed over generations, specifically to be close, devoted lap companions. They are completely wired to focus intensely on their humans.
Which makes them so lovable.
It really does. They are endlessly eager to please, and crucially, they are highly food motivated.
Which, as someone who has tried to train a really stubborn dog, that sounds fantastic on paper.
Oh, from a behavioral training perspective, it is a dream. It makes them a joy to train because they will do almost anything for a high-value reward.
Like that tiny piece of chicken.
Exactly. But that exact same psychological wiring makes it incredibly easy to accidentally overfeed them. I mean, they evolved to watch human cues closely, which translates beautifully to begging.
They are professional beggars.
They really are. They know exactly how to work their humans to get what they want.
So it's a math problem, really. The exact trait that makes them such good dogs to train, the reason they sit and stay so beautifully, is actually their Achilles heel at the dinner table.
That's a great way to put it.
And when you combine that eager-to-eat personality with their physical size, you run into this mathematical trap. I like to think of it as the rounding error trap.
The rounding error trap. I like that.
Yeah, so let's say you have a large breed, like a 90-pound golden retriever. If you give that dog a few extra treats throughout the day, maybe a piece of cheese or that bite of chicken, that extra caloric intake is essentially a rounding error in their daily energy expenditure.
Right. It barely registers on their metabolic radar.
But for a 15-pound Cavalier, proportionally, those exact same treats are a massive calorie bomb.
To put some numbers to that, a typical adult Cavalier might only need somewhere around 300 to 400 calories a day.
Wait, just 300 to 400?
Yeah, depending on their activity level, of course.
Yeah.
But a single 1-ounce cube of cheddar cheese is about 80 calories.
Oh, wow. So for a Cavalier, you just fed them 20 to 25% of their daily requirement in a single gulp.
Precisely. Imagine if you casually ate a massive double cheeseburger as a mid-afternoon snack and then still expected to eat a full dinner.
I mean, I'd be incredibly full.
Right. But that is the metabolic reality for a small breed when we give them human-sized snacks.
That calorie math really forces you to look closely at their life stages, too, because that 300-calorie baseline isn't static.
No, it changes significantly.
It changes, and owners seem to walk right off this massive calorie cliff without even realizing it.
The puppy-to-adult transition is notoriously tricky. Let's look at the physiology of a growing small breed puppy.
Okay, let's do it.
A Cavalier puppy is undergoing an astonishing amount of cellular construction. I mean, they are rapidly developing skeletal structure, muscle mass, internal organs, and neurological pathways.
They're basically building a whole dog from scratch in just a few months.
Exactly. That rapid growth requires a tremendous amount of energy, which is why puppy formulas are packed with higher caloric density.
Right, and specific minerals too, I assume.
Yeah, very specific phosphorus and calcium ratios to fuel that entire construction project.
But the construction project finishes much faster for small breeds than large breeds, right?
Considerably faster.
Yeah.
The growth plates in a small spaniel often close around the 9 to 10 month mark.
Wow, that early.
Yeah, whereas a giant breed might still be growing at 18 months. So when that rapid growth levels off for the Cavalier, their resting metabolic rate drops significantly.
But I'm guessing the dog doesn't voluntarily ask for a salad instead of the rich puppy food?
Definitely not. The dog is certainly not going to complain about continuing to get that rich, calorie-dense puppy food.
So if the owner just keeps scooping the same amount...
Then that excess energy is no longer being used to build bone and muscle. The body has no choice but to store it as adipose tissue, basically fat.
I always hear about the first birthday being the milestone. Is that just a myth? I feel like people treat midnight on their dog's first birthday as this magical switch where you instantly dump the puppy food.
Biology definitely doesn't use a wall calendar.
Right, obviously.
The first birthday is a convenient heuristic, but every dog develops at their own distinct pace. This is why regular veterinary checkups are infinitely more valuable than just circling a date on your calendar.
Because the vet can actually feel what's going on.
Exactly. A vet can palpate your specific Cavalier, track their unique growth curve, and tell you exactly when the skeletal growth has plateaued and it is time to transition to an adult maintenance diet.
And, of course, they hit another major physiological shift later in life.
The senior transition.
Right. What happens then?
When a Cavalier reaches their senior years, their biology shifts again. Sarcopenia, which is the natural age-related loss of muscle mass, begins to occur.
Oh, just like in humans.
Very similar, yeah. And their daily activity level generally drops. They sleep more deeply. Maybe they aren't chasing the ball quite as relentlessly at the park.
So their overall calorie needs drop again.
They do. But simultaneously, their nutritional requirements change. Senior diets are formulated to counteract that muscle wasting with highly digestible proteins while tightly controlling the calories and adding specific compounds to support joint cartilage.
So that calorie cliff at the different life stages really forces you to reevaluate the actual kibble you're scooping into the bowl. Because you can't just feed, like, less of the puppy food, right?
Right. The nutritional makeup in the bowl has to shift entirely.
And since we know you listening understand the basic jobs of protein and carbohydrates, let's look at how those ratios specifically impact a Cavalier's unique metabolic rate.
Okay, yeah.
We aren't just fueling a generic dog. We're fueling a dog with specific genetic predispositions, meaning the fat-to-protein ratio becomes a real tightrope walk.
It is a delicate balance. Commercial diets formulated for small, companion breeds take into account that these dogs often lead relatively sedentary, indoor lives compared to working dogs.
So they don't need a ton of extra fat for energy.
Exactly. You need high-quality, highly bioavailable protein to maintain lean muscle mass, which supports the joints. But you have to tightly control the fat content.
Because fat is just so dense.
It is incredibly calorie dense. It's more than double the calories per gram compared to protein or carbohydrates.
Yeah.
If the fat ratio is too high, even a small portion size will blow past their daily caloric limit.
Which brings me to the back of the dog food bag. I look at those feeding guidelines, and it feels like buying a one-size-fits-all t-shirt.
That's a perfect analogy.
Right. It tells you, if your dog weighs 15 pounds, feed them exactly 1 cup a day. But a one-size-fits-all shirt is going to fit a few people perfectly, and for everyone else, it's either hanging off their shoulders or uncomfortably tight.
Yeah, those feeding charts are based on broad mathematical averages. They're often formulated around the caloric needs of an intact, highly active dog.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so if your Cavalier is spayed or neutered, their resting metabolic rate is already noticeably lower than an intact dog.
I had no idea.
And beyond that, you could have two Cavaliers that both weigh exactly 16 pounds. One might be a total couch potato who sunbathes all day, and the other might be doing agility courses in the backyard.
So their biological burn rates are entirely different.
Completely different. The bag gives you a suggestion, a starting baseline. It is not a rigid prescription.
Okay, so if the bag is just a suggestion and the mathematical formula varies wildly based on whether my dog likes to sunbathe or sprint, how do I actually know if I'm getting the portion right?
You have to get physical.
Because, I've always found the concept of body condition scoring a little confusing. If I look at my dog, I feel like I'm just seeing a cute spaniel. How am I supposed to spot a subtle change in weight?
Relying on your eyes is the most dangerous trap of all. To really understand your dog's body condition, you need to develop a hands-on habit.
Okay, why is looking not enough?
Because visual observation fails us due to the way small spaniels biologically store fat. They don't immediately get a large drooping belly.
Oh, they don't?
No, the fat deposits typically gather first around the internal organs, which is visceral fat, and then they pack gently along the ribs and the base of the tail.
So by the time I actually see my dog looking wide or chunky from across the room, they've already accumulated a significant amount of hidden fat.
Precisely. And because you are observing them every single day, your brain normalizes those tiny incremental expansions.
Like watching hair grow.
Exactly like that. It is classic change blindness. You are completely blind to the gradual weight gain. This is why you must physically check their body condition.
So how do we do that?
You do this by standing over them and running your palms gently along the dog's sides, right over their rib cage.
What exactly am I feeling for, though? Because I assume I'm always going to feel fur and muscle. What does too much padding actually feel like?
Okay, think of it like feeling the ridges of a radiator.
A radiator. Got it.
If you drape a thin bedsheet over a radiator, you can easily feel every single ridge with a light touch.
Right. You can feel the bumps clearly.
That is a dog in ideal condition.
Yeah.
You should be able to feel the ribs without having to press hard.
Okay. And the bad version?
If you drape a thick, heavy winter duvet over that same radiator, you have to push your fingers down deeply into the fabric to find the ridges.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
Yeah, that is what a layer of subcutaneous fat feels like on a dog. You shouldn't have to dig to find their ribs.
Is there anything else I should look for when I have my hands on them?
Yes. Additionally, when you stand above them and trace your hand back, there should be a distinct physical inward curve. A waistline, basically, right behind the ribs before the hips begin.
So losing that physical waistline under your hands is the earliest warning system we have.
Absolutely.
And when we trace back where that extra padding is coming from, the creeping weight gain usually isn't coming from breakfast or dinner. Most owners are actually measuring the main kibble fairly accurately. The real culprit is the stealth calories.
The emotional feeding between meals. We go right back to that piece of cheese or that bite of chicken.
Yeah, the treats.
Treats themselves are a fantastic tool, especially for behavioral reinforcement with a breed that thrives on positive feedback. The breakdown happens when owners fail to account for the cumulative daily load.
I always visualize this as a pie chart.
Oh, I like a good chart.
Imagine your Cavalier's total allowable daily calories, let's say it's those 350 calories, as a single pie. Most people seem to think of treats as a separate bonus pie that just sits off to the side.
Right, like it doesn't count.
Yeah. They feed the dog their full daily allowance of kibble, the whole main pie, and then freely hand out slices of the bonus pie all day long.
Which guarantees a caloric surplus.
Exactly. The biological reality is there is only one pie. If you are going to give your dog treats for training, or just because you are bonding with them, those treats are a slice taken directly out of the main pie.
They have to be subtracted.
Right, which means the amount of nutrient-dense regular food in the bowl physically has to shrink to accommodate the treat slice. And because we want to maximize our ability to reward them without shrinking their actual dinner to a few measly kibbles, we have to be incredibly strategic.
And that's where portioning the treats comes in. You can use much smaller, lower-calorie options to get the exact same psychological reinforcement without breaking the calorie bank.
So they don't need a whole biscuit?
Not at all. The dog's brain registers the event of receiving a treat much more than the volume of the treat.
Right, really?
Yeah. They don't care if the reward is the size of a quarter or the size of a lentil. The dopamine hit from the reward is virtually identical.
That completely reframes how we should look at a bag of treats. We should just be breaking them into tiny pieces.
Absolutely. Lentil-sized pieces are perfect for a Cavalier.
And while we are on the topic of what goes into their body between meals, we have to talk about water. It doesn't come in a fancy bag, and nobody's writing marketing copy for it, but water plays a massive role in this metabolic puzzle.
Water is foundational. It drives digestion, it is necessary for the biochemical reactions that extract energy from food, and it supports renal function.
But how does it relate to the weight gain specifically?
Well, in the context of weight management, mild dehydration can actually mimic hunger in a dog's behavior.
No way. So they might bed just because they're thirsty.
Exactly. If they aren't adequately hydrated, their overall cellular metabolism becomes less efficient and they act hungry. Fresh, clean water always needs to be readily available, and tracking their water intake can sometimes give you early clues about shifts in their health.
Okay, so we've covered the pie charts, the hands-on rib checks, the life stage calorie cliffs, and the absolute necessity of breaking treats into lentil-sized pieces.
A lot of ground covered.
Yeah, but let's zoom out and look at the actual stakes here. Why are we being so incredibly meticulous about a few ounces of fat on a small dog? I mean, for a Cavalier King Charles Spaniel, this isn't just about aesthetics, right? The stakes are profoundly higher.
The stakes are their longevity.
Yeah.
We have to connect this meticulous weight management back to the specific health vulnerabilities of the Cavalier breed.
The things they're genetically prone to.
Right. It is widely documented in veterinary medicine that this breed is highly predisposed to certain heart conditions, specifically mitral valve disease, as well as joint considerations. That is simply a biological reality of their genetics.
So how does the food bowl directly impact the mechanics of the heart? Let's dive into the physiology there.
It comes down to the physics of the cardiovascular system. When a dog carries excess body weight, they aren't just carrying inert baggage. Fat is active tissue.
Active tissue, what does that mean?
It means it needs blood supply. Yeah. Through a process called angiogenesis, the body has to build miles of new blood vessels, new capillaries, just to supply oxygen to that extra fat tissue.
So you are physically expanding the plumbing system.
That is a great way to put it. The heart now has to pump harder, increasing the cardiac output, just to push blood through that vastly expanded vascular network.
Which raises the blood pressure.
Exactly. This increases systemic vascular resistance, basically, higher blood pressure. And for a Cavalier, whose mitral valve might already be genetically prone to weakening or leaking over time, forcing that heart to constantly pump against higher resistance mechanically wears out the valve faster.
That is a staggering visual. Every extra pound of fat is miles of extra blood vessels the heart has to work against.
It accelerates the strain on an already vulnerable organ.
To be totally clear, though, there isn't some secret heart vitamin hidden in certain dog foods that counteracts this, right? We can't just buy a supplement to fix it.
I wish we could, but no. Supplements can support overall health, but there is no magic eraser for cardiovascular strain. The overall body condition is the primary lever you have. Keeping the dog lean reduces the physical, mechanical burden the heart and the joints have to carry every single day.
And that internal health physically manifests on the outside, too. You can literally see the results of their diet in their coat.
Absolutely. The skin is the body's largest organ. We talked earlier about fat being a dense energy source, but specific essential fatty acids are what construct and maintain the epidermal skin barrier.
So if they aren't getting the right fats,
then you see it right away. If a Cavalier's normally silky coat suddenly becomes dull, dry, or begins flaking, that is often a direct reflection of a dietary issue or a metabolic shift. It tells you the skin barrier is no longer getting the specific nutritional support it requires.
we are diving really deep into the biology here, but obviously you listening at home are probably not veterinary endocrinologists.
Probably not.
So when does an owner need to stop adjusting the thermostat themselves and call in a professional?
You should loop in a veterinarian whenever there is a significant planned life stage change. So moving from puppy to adult or adult to senior.
That makes sense. What about day-to-day stuff?
You should definitely call them if you do your hands-on rib check and feel a sudden change in body condition. But most crucially, you need professional guidance if you notice an uncharacteristic shift in their appetite or energy.
Right, because they love food so much.
Exactly. If a naturally food-motivated Cavalier suddenly loses interest in their bowl, that is an immediate red flag that requires medical attention, not just a diet tweak.
Keeping track of all this data, though, the weight fluctuations, the behavioral shifts, the vet visits, it can easily overwhelm anyone.
It's a lot to manage.
The source material from the VitalPet Dog Health Academy notes that using digital tools, like the VitalPet app, can help owners centralize and track their dog's weight trends and veterinary records over time,
Having a centralized tracking system is incredibly powerful.
especially for spotting those slow changes.
Yes, being able to look at a macro-level graph of your dog's weight over 18 months helps you spot those slow, creeping trends of change blindness before they become massive cardiovascular liabilities.
It's like taking off the blinders.
But of course, an app is just an organizational tool. It never replaces the diagnostic expertise and hands-on physical exams of your veterinarian.
Definitely. So to pull all of this together and wrap up this deep dive, the actionable takeaways here are surprisingly grounded.
Very practical.
If you share your home with a Cavalier King Charles Spaniel, you need to ditch the puppy portions the moment their skeletal growth plateaus. And you have to treat the feeding guidelines on the back of the dog food bag as a mere suggestion.
Just a mathematical starting point that you adjust based on your specific dog's unique metabolic burn rate.
And you must rely on your hands. Feeling for the radiator ridges under a thin sheet to check their body condition regularly. You cannot trust your eyes.
You absolutely can't.
And finally, you have to respect the pie chart. Every single scrap of cheese, every training treat, every tiny bite or chicken counts toward their total daily limit.
It all adds up so fast.
Yeah. Because for this specific breed, with their specific physiological vulnerabilities, maintaining a lean body isn't just about diet. It is the ultimate act of love. Steady, simple, consistent daily habits are the armor that protects them.
It is the single most powerful, proactive tool an owner has at their disposal.
We have spent this time exploring how a single, seemingly harmless piece of chicken, compounded day after day, week after week, can fundamentally alter the long-term biological trajectory of a Cavalier.
It really makes you think.
It does. It forces you to turn that analytical lens around and wonder about us. What are the pieces of chicken in our own human lives?
Oh, that's a tough question.
Right. What incredibly tiny, seemingly insignificant daily micro habit of yours is quietly and visibly shaping your own long-term health trajectory without you even noticing?